flat Coke, cranberry juice. The smell of gin made me gag a little after drinking too much of it the weekend before. Dark skin, long brown hair, unnervingly blue-green eyes, and enormous arms and shoulders, hugged tight by his clothing. The kind of tight t-shirt that wouldn't have been tight on anyone else. We didn't say a word. It was a night that was otherwise completely forgettable, bookended by forgettable moments. The stickiness of the benches, the background noise of overlapping conversations, the loud, drunk volume laughter, hipster jeans and excessive bronzer, the crunch underfoot of dirt brought in from the garden. These are things I know to be true, but not things I remember. I make up these details to flesh out the night, to give meat to it. The night we met, the split second of eye contact. It was months later that my phone rang, as if it was a completely ordinary ring, as if it wasn't the phone call that would change everything. "Hi, it's Rob," said the voice. "I got your number from Elise." "Sorry, who?" I asked. We had never been introduced. The party, the overlapping friendship circles, he fumbled an explanation. "Oh," I said. "Are you the one with the big arms?" Oh my God, shut up. I found out later that he had seen me in a photo. He'd had a girlfriend at that party, at the kitchen bench, another detail I didn't notice. Elise had been showing him photos from that night, and he had asked who I was, had asked for my number. He didn't have a girlfriend when he asked. We arranged to meet for a drink, and he said he would pick me up. I told him my address, still living with my parents. He laughed. "I live in Connor Street," he exclaimed. "Oh," I said, pretending to understand. I had never heard of the street. I didn't understand why he was telling me this. The next night, I paced near the front doorway in anticipation of the doorbell ringing, as much because I was excited to see him as to prevent Mum getting there before me. The awkward kiss on the cheek, the way my body knew, my chest thumping, a zap in the air. "There's my house," he said as we walked to his car. The back of his house and the front of my house were essentially next door. There was a tiny laneway connecting us. We had lived as neighbours for most of our lives without ever knowing each other. Our paths had never crossed, despite there being a literal path leading from my house to his. It would have taken him longer to drive to pick me up than if he had just stepped out his parents' back gate. "Ah," I said, now understanding why he laughed when I told him my address on the phone. I climbed into his car awkwardly, the low-to-the-ground Toyota Celica. Grey, the smell of worn leather seats. Other people's cars always made me carsick. The strangeness of it. The not-mineness of it. Their lives that had sunk into the interiors. He drove a manual, and I think that's what made me fall in love with him. A detail that before that moment had been completely unimportant to me. The way he shifted gears, the subtle muscle twitch as his arm moved. Milestones gushed from us, landing everywhere. The first kiss, the first time meeting the parents, the first "I love you." That we lived so close and moved in similar circles and yet had never met before seemed impossible. It felt more likely that I had conjured him, created him from need, from lust, from longing. Within months, we planned our first trip away to New Zealand. A tour guide convinced us to go canoeing in Marlborough Sounds. The water was completely flat, not a single wave. "I get really seasick," I said. "It's impossible to feel sick here," he said. "There is no movement at all." At the halfway point, I was lime green, my head spinning. "I can't," I begged as our tiny canoe bobbed. Rob rowed us to the shore through the bathtub-like stillness of the water. After I finished violently throwing up in the bushes, we walked to the drop-off point, the canoe over Rob's shoulder.